Greetings Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance and welcome back to another episode of our Talisman series. Today we continue our journey through the Progress faction, also known as the Engineers. And if you missed the previous episodes, make sure to check them out because we've already reviewed talismans from heroes in nature, honor and many of the newer talismans introduced during the last 12 months. This series has never been about simply picking one talisman and moving on. The goal is to understand how talismans change a hero and whether one option is clearly superior or whether both create different identities depending on the team and matchup. Talismans are special because unlike skins, glyphs, artifacts and most progression systems that become fixed once upgraded, talismans allow adaptation before battle. They remain one of the only ways to actively change how a hero behaves, from one fight to another. Sometimes that difference is small. Sometimes it completely changes the outcome. And that's why understanding talisman dynamics matters so much. As always Guardians, whenever we refer to talisman stats, we'll always mention the fixed main stat first and the re-rollable secondary stat second. Now, let's move into today's hero. Ginger. One of the original damage dealers, from the Progress faction. And Guardians. If we're being realistic, Ginger doesn't appear nearly as often as she once did. Compared to newer heroes, her kit feels more straightforward and she's rarely the first recommendation players receive. But that doesn't mean she has no place. Some players still enjoy her. Some need her for sets. And some simply want to make older heroes work. So if that's you, this one is for you. Like all heroes, Ginger currently has two talismans. The first is the Talisman of Firearm. This talisman originally arrived as a free reward during the first rounds of Talisman Fever and immediately looks like a natural fit for a traditional damage dealer. Its main stat is agility. Its re-rollable stat is armor penetration. And this talisman gives over 40,000 armor penetration. That's enough to overcome the armor values of many heroes and immediately improves Ginger's ability to pressure targets that would normally reduce her damage. At first glance, this looks exactly like what she wants. Then we move into her second option. The Talisman of Artillery. This one was also free at launch, but the identity changes completely. Its main stat is crushing. Its secondary stat is critical hit chance. Immediately we lose a lot of armor penetration and physical attack but gain something very different. Critical interactions. And suddenly the comparison becomes more interesting. Because artillery doesn't necessarily look weaker. It simply pushes Ginger toward another direction. Now let's apply our two usual factors. First, how do the stats affect her skills? Second, do those stats support the role she plays? Starting with skills. The answer becomes fairly clear. All of Ginger's abilities scale with physical attack. That means physical attack contributes across her entire kit. And because of that, firearm gains an immediate advantage. Agility naturally boosts physical attack while armor penetration allows that damage to convert more efficiently. Together they create stronger and more reliable output. So purely from skill interaction, firearm clearly leads. But skills aren't everything. Now let's think about role. What is Ginger trying to do? Damage? Pressure? Finish fights. And this is where artillery becomes more interesting. Because while crushing and critical hit chance move away from traditional progress scaling, they introduce a more explosive style. Imagine facing teams without a dedicated tank. Do you always need massive armor penetration? Not necessarily. Imagine playing with heroes that appreciate critical interactions. Heroes like Julius, Hus, Oya. Suddenly critical hit chance starts becoming much more attractive. And now artillery begins opening possibilities. This creates a different version of Ginger. One focuses on stable damage. The other focuses on faster finishing power. That's why, unlike some heroes where the answer becomes obvious, Ginger feels more situational. If we had to choose one today, we would still usually equip the Talisman of Firearm. The extra physical attack and armor penetration simply feel more aligned with the role she naturally plays in progress teams. But we also believe artillery deserves respect. There are definitely situations where it may outperform. And because of that, train, experiment, test different opponents. Because with Ginger, your talisman choice may decide the outcome of the battle. And there's another piece of good news. If you are building Ginger today, the Talisman of Firearm is available through the Eternal Frontier Merchant for 700,000 coins whenever it rotates back. So if you see it, grab it. Meanwhile, artillery remains much harder to obtain, and currently we don't know when it will return. So Guardians, what do you think? Do you agree with our overview? Do you prefer firearm or artillery? Leave your thoughts below and tell us which progress hero should be next in this series. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.
Thank you.